Hello, and bienvenidos to this episode of Voces, the official Hola at IBM podcast that brings our Hispanic and Latino communities of IBM together to share authentic, accessible, and informal conversations, amplifying critical leadership messages on culture, career, well-being, business, and technology. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast belong solely to those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of IBM.
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to a new episode of Voces, donde tu voz importa. I got some exciting news for you all because we are in the most wonderful time of the year. And no, it is not Christmas, but it is Hispanic Heritage Month. And it makes me so happy because this is the time of the year where we all come together as a community to celebrate our beautiful culture, right? That is vibrant, that is colorful, that is flavorful, and also our amazing people. And because of this, we have prepared for you a series of episodes where we'll be listening from the authors of this year's new edition of the Hispanic Rising Star book presented by the We Are All Human Foundation. So I hope you feel excited and energized as me as we have some cool content coming up for you. And if you haven't heard about the foundation, We're All Human Foundation, they are an organization that advocates for every human to be respected and empowered by focusing on our common humanity. If you want to learn more, go check them out. And of course, if this is your first time listening to a Voces episode, give us a follow so you can stay up to date with all the great content that we're going to put out there. But without further ado, my name is Anthony Porrias. You can call me Tony. I'm currently an IT automation technology seller at IBM, and I'll be your host for this episode. But since this episode is not about me, let's welcome our first guest, Sebastián Bovera. How are you doing today? ¿Cómo estás, Sebas?
Hi, Tony. I'm doing great. I am very honored to be here and share my story. And I hope I have 10% of the energy that you're sharing to share my story as well.
Absolutely. First, thank you so much for being our first guest in the series. One of the things that I love most about IBM and Hispanic Heritage Month is that we get to highlight some amazing people like you, right? And we get the awesome opportunity to learn. And what better way to learn from someone that listened to your story, right? So I wanted to ask you, before we get to your background, what do you do, right? How did you feel? Like, how was your reaction? What were you doing when you were told that your story was selected for this year's book?
To be honest, I share my story. I had a recommendation to share my story, and I thought about it and just built something as well with the help with AI. So what's the next?
Let's go. What's the next?
On build that story as well. But yeah, I wanted to have a space to share my story, to have someone listening to it. So when I was selected, I was really surprised. It was an honor. And then when they told me that I would be in the book, the first thing I thought is being a co-author is like checking the list of things to do in my life. So I was glad I did that. But then really honored to have that story in a page, printed, and share that with my family. I did that yesterday when the book was released. So they were very happy for me, my friends as well. So really and honestly honored to have that in paper and have an audience to share that with.
Absolutely, right? And I think that's the reason why stories are so powerful, right? And the reason why we need people like you sharing, right, in these spaces so we can all get inspired by the story. So Sebas, tell us about your story. Where do we want to start? Tell us a little bit more where you were born, a little bit about your upbringings.
Yeah, probably from the beginning. As you mentioned, I was born in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, which is the capital city. I'm the elder one of a family of 6 siblings, 3.
Oh, wow.
And 3. Yeah, so I always had to fight for my toys, for my food. It was just kidding, but it was really good and fun to grow with a lot of siblings, playing, fighting. My father's trying to handle those situations, so I love it, honestly. I started the university on Buenos Aires as well. I received my degree in economics. I started working part-time in an HSBC bank. Then I obtained my first job, like the full-time job in stocks. So I worked in a stock company, buying and selling stocks in the New York market. When I was studying economics, one of my passions was that type of businesses. So I study as well that in a couple of courses. But then when I started working really on that, I realized that was not for me. There was a lot of nervous around because the majority of the salary depends on how you do on your transaction. So I was being interviewed as well by IBM and Coke at that time. And when both of them called me probably the same week, I take the opportunity. I resigned to that job, and then I chose IBM because I thought that the work that they were offering me tied better to what I wanted for my career. And I started working in IBM like 15 years back, right?
15 years. Okay.
Yeah, it is. It is a long story. From 2009. Before I finished my degree, between I finished my degree and I started working at IBM, I did my first international trip. So being in a big family, probably that limits the whole family to travel outside the country. So I was the age of 24 when I first traveled. It was to the US. I did a work and travel experience in Utah, working in a ski resort. I loved the experience. Probably that is one of the best travel experience that I had in my life. And the objective of that travel was to improve my English first. I'm still trying to do that.
No, you're good.
Also to know a different culture, a different country. I saw a lot of cities in the movie that in that trip I was able to know personally. And then to improve my snowboard and ski skills. It was not a good time because 2009 it was a crisis in the US. So I was very confident I will find a job, but it was really hard. So I spent like probably 3 weeks looking for a job, knocking the same doors like 5-6 times. And then I thought, okay, I will spend all the money that I brought and then enjoy as a vacation, right? But then I found a job and I was able to be there like for 5 months. So yeah, I really enjoyed. And then I returned back and I started working on the stock company that I mentioned. And 2 months later, started working at IBM.
Yeah, I wanted to double click on that, right? How's that moment of realization when you kind of did an analysis, right? And you put the pros and cons probably, and you said, this is not for me. I need to make the change to something else, right? And I'm asking this because a lot of people in the audience might be going through the same thing, right? They are in a position or in a company, right, that they don't feel like this is what they want to do, right? How's that process for you? What was in your mind? How did that make you feel? And what motivated you to do, the actual shift?
No, that is a very good question. And that is something that it not only happened that time, but within IBM, it happens to me several times. Probably not all the jobs that you will be working on will passionate you. So you will not always wake up and say, okay, I'm very energized to go to work. Like it will not happen in all the words. But then you need to find the right job or the right space that let you do what you like, at least what you know, and then that you are respected and valued for what you do. So at that moment, specifically in that stock company, I was just out of the university. I do not had a lot of money. As I mentioned before, the majority of the salary depends on how you do in respects to transaction. So I was in a learning curve there. I was being trained, not actually uh, being too tied to my performance. But then looking at my surroundings, I saw a lot of people very stressed, very nervous, very aggressive when the things were not going the way they like it. So I just did an analysis looking forward to see if that was the life that I wanted. And it was not a hard decision because that experience was not really what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Although I still do that as a hobby. So when I have time and I want to have some fun and probably some adrenaline, I buy and sell stocks.
Nice. So I guess the question is, what stock should we buy now? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I would say IBM.
IBM, let's go.
Very good there. So
Yeah.
let's go with it's in a very good mood right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when you make that change, right, do you see and you saw how your life changed, right? I guess in different aspects, right? I guess job security and, and many other areas as well, right? Would you mind sharing, how that change impacted your life? Now, you said that you are at IBM for 15 years. So IBM must be doing something really good if you're staying for 15 years, right?
Yeah,
What was that?
It is a good place to work. So when I did that analysis, what IBM was offering me was probably what I was looking for. So the benefits at that time of that job were you will work near home. You will have home office that at that time was not very frequent in Buenos Aires.
Mhm.
The other thing was you will travel to support the client you will be working with. So that was a big thing for me. I had at the time a very like big will to travel and to know places and people. So that was seducing me to say yes immediately, and also because a couple of friends that at the time were playing in a club. So I played rugby since I was 8 years old in a club, and several of those guys were working at IBM, recommended me to join the team. They were supporting the same client. So all of those things, when I compare that with Coke, which was the other offer, or the place I was working on, make me really do not make a big analysis, because all the characteristics of the jobs and the benefits it had was like a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And I'm young too, so my desire for travel when I started my career here at IBM was very, very high too, right? And still, right, I want to be in front of the client and everything. And the beauty of IBM is that really allow you to have that balance, right, between life and work. And you kind of seem like you went from both sides of the spectrum, right? Working in a very demanding um, job, like in the stock market, or, working in that area, to a company that allows you to be close to home and also give you that traveling opportunity that you were seeking for, right? So kind of looked like a full package right there for you, right? Now that you've been at IBM for 15 years, right? Do you remember anything that you would like to share about, like an exciting project, an exciting trip, anything that you feel like is worth sharing with the audience?
Yeah, probably lots of things. What I would say, tied back to the theme where we're talking about, is that not always the choice would be that easy.
Mhm.
In IBM, I went through different situations where I was probably in a comfort zone. I was very enjoyful of the job I was doing with the people I was working, but probably I was not growing at the speed that I wanted, right? A lot of the things that were happening at that time at work were good, but then how to identify when your career is stuck, how to see future opportunities in a job that you think you're good at, but then there's a lot of changes in the organization, and then you never know what is the progression that you can do in that specific job. So there's times, what I want to say is there's times that analysis from the job you're at or a different job that probably you have been offered or you're seeking for is not that easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then to share, going back to your question, one of the opportunities I had after my first job at IBM that was supporting an oil and gas client in the US was a new project that we have not certain on how that project would be because it was kind of a bet. But being a new project and being a small team and being a new client brings you a lot of opportunities or possible opportunities that I take the plunge and bet for it. So I moved to that client, support a new account. I travel a lot as well. That was as well part of the decision making on knowing other places as well and knowing other industry and client. And then it turned back that we grow with that client, and the ones that started small, they're the small team, all of us starting leading teams, progressing our careers within the same account. So we find a lot of opportunity because we did really well. And the client was happy with that. So doing what you do good, identifying what are you good at, letting others know what you're good at and demonstrating will lead you to opportunities. And that was a good decision that I did. And also, I love being client facing. And one of the things that I enjoyed from that client is that the client was very friendly, to be honest, but then I push that relationship. Not always you have the opportunity to do that, but I did. And then 5 years ago, when I got married, I invited some of the stakeholders of the client, and they traveled from the US to Argentina. And it's not to Buenos Aires, it was to another city that I can dive a bit more on why I moved to another city, which is very small. So they needed to travel to Buenos Aires with some stops, and then drive to this city, 3-hour drive to be in my in my wedding. So I did appreciate that a lot, and that is one of the things that I embrace from IBM, to put you in front of other countries, clients, and people, and build relationships all over the world.
Absolutely, right? And that's a beautiful story. And, when you say, right, IBM gives you the opportunity to put you in front of clients in different parts of the world, that brings the concept of diversification and diversity really to IBM as a clear winner, right? Because we are seeing in action how we bring people with different backgrounds, cultural perspective to work in a room together, right? And I think that's what makes IBM so special, right? And what I was going to say before earlier when you were sharing was that it seems like a common theme, right, throughout your journey is like stay out of your comfort zone, right? Be comfortable with changes, right? You early in your career, you decided this was not for me, I'm going to change it. You started your career now in the tech industry, and we know the tech industry changes almost every quarter, almost every year, right? So you need to be comfortable with changes, right? So as we approach the end of the episode, right, Sebas, what's something that you would like to share with the audience? Any advice, any thoughts from you on this topic?
Yeah, probably tied to the story I was sharing before is that life will put you in the place that you deserve, right? And that is tied to the decisions that you take. If you take good decisions, you will be in the place where you want to be. Probably would take longer, depending on what is your starting point. And I mean your starting point in life, all the challenges you need to go through. And then those decisions will make you the person that you are in the in the present, right? All the decisions that I have taken in the past made me the person that I am today. All the decisions that I will take will make me the person that I will be in the future. So to make the right decisions, you need to know you first, which is not a simple exercise. Probably I still do not know me, and I do not know the Sebastian of the future. So it's a constant exercise that you need to do. And something that brought me here in my career is trying to be special in something, but not only work hard and try to make the work that you do good, because not always the hard work pays off, right? You need to be very special at something. You need to get people to know you, to know what you do, and to know how well you do it. Because if you do not have that visibility, probably you will be dead in that same position the rest of your life. So you need to increase your network, and not only by increasing your network, I mean without a sense. You need to target the audience you want to connect with. You need to give a meaning to that expansion in your network, and you need to let everyone know what you do, what you're good at, what you can do, and what you are special at, right? So those are my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And people, that's a wrap. Thank you, Sebas, for finishing this episode with a beautiful, beautiful note and advice. And for you all listening, remember to go celebrate your own story. Go share it, because I'm sure someone out there is waiting for it and to be inspired by you. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Sebas, and see you next time. Bye.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Voces. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube and Spotify channels. You can find us as Voces so you don't miss any new episodes.